Okay, well, I first want to say that I'm just really humbled to share the stage with all of you. That was really powerful. And I also want to say that I hate reading things that I have written out loud, and I usually don't do it, but I was really honored to be asked by my brother, and he's inspired me a lot with his poetry. So I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to do one, and I'm going to read it. All right. We are all here tonight because my brother writes poems. Once in a poem he wrote, "I would kill for my sisters," and when I heard him recite that line, I knew that he meant it. My brother gave me a book of poetry for my birthday one year, written by a strong female poet. Once in a poem she wrote, "A woman is a wish for something to puncture lonely," and she inscribed her book for me. Inside it she wrote, "Kayla, here's to the poems we cannot write." For instance, I cannot write poems about my family because if they were ever to die, I wouldn't want the poems to be read at their funerals. I did that once, and so many people put their feelings onto my poem that I was worried its back would break. I cannot write poems about the very best nights because I finally learned that inhabiting every second of them is better than trying so hard to ensure that you'll remember. On a wall in the city that is reserved for graffiti, artists create and destroy at a remarkably rapid pace, pouring their passion and desire into masterpieces that are painted over the very next day. Once under a picture of a girl's smiling face, vibrant and beautiful, but with birth and death dates far too close together, someone wrote, "Even nothing isn't as much without you." It stayed there for weeks. I have tried, but I cannot write a poem about that. And one day, a sweet girl's already fragile voice broke as she said to me, "Do you know that feeling when you just want to make everything perfect for everyone you love and protect them, but you can't, and it makes me so sad." That is the poem I cannot write. But when I began to read the book of poems, I looked again at that inscription and realized that I had read it wrong, or perhaps I had not been ready to hear what she meant, because what she had written was, "Kayla, here's to the poems we can't not write." And that is something else entirely. The feeling of a poem gripping you and shaking you and waking you up, knocking inside your head, pounding against your rib cage, jolting through your veins, pleading to be written, to be heard, to be felt. One year I wrote a poem every day, from October 23rd to April 15th. Reading them now, it feels like just yesterday, if I had spent yesterday flying and lost 24 hours to a distorted and timeless dream. On the day I stopped this ritual, I wrote to myself that I was sorry to be giving up, but I hoped I would later understand. And when I finally got over the jet lag, I did. For 174 days, those poems were my flotation device, and I know that had I not written them, I would still be hurting and lost. I can't not write about the beauty that surrounds me, even when it becomes obscured by horror and easy to ignore. And I can't not write about the fleeting moments when I feel utterly infinite, like my whole body is made of music and light. I think of her often, the poet who wrote that simple line just for me, who knows intimately the visceral need for words that consumes me and that consumes my brother. I think of my first love, who made me terrified and resentful of my own heart, but utterly fearless of my own words. And I think of my truest love, who would only ever share his writing with me. Once in a poem he wrote, "It was always the hurt that would remain last. You with your optimistic mumbo-jumbo still, despite, and me, enraged at your belief in greater things, wishing to kiss you." I think of the person I call my puzzle piece, because when we are together, there is no distinguishing where I end and she begins, and when we are apart, our very essence is defined by the absence of the other. And I think of my family, for whom there is too much to say and not enough words with which to say it. They are all the poems I simply can't not write. They are the lines I will always know by heart. They are the worn and yellowed pages of my soul. So, to the inscriber of my book, who unknowingly gave me a precious gift, I say, here's to the poems we can't not write, and here's to the ones that we can. Here's to our inscriptions on the inside cover of the Book of Life. Here's to those of us who rhyme and those of us who don't. Here's to the poems begging to be read aloud and tasted, and to the ones meant to be swallowed and taken to the grave. Once in a poem I wrote, "When I die, I hope they bury me with my mouth open, so I can whisper my last secret stanzas into the heart of the earth."